Mama tried to talk me out of them, but I begged. At 14 years of age, I had developed a true sense of style, or so I thought, and I had to have them. They won't match everything you wear, Mama cautioned. I knew she was right, but I didn't care. Those fire engine red loafers were a must-have, a status symbol, a matter of life and death. I was entering the 9th grade. Mama bought them, and I wore those loafers with bobby socks and pride. But they didn't last long. The heels went first. Next, the sides stretched out. Holes appeared in the soles, and the so-called leather was badly scuffed. The Quicksand drugstore didn't sell red shoe polish. Woolworth's dime store didn't either. The loafers looked like they'd been through a war. The stretched out sides made them loose and hard to keep on my feet. Ashamed to wear them to school, I only wore the loafers around the house. They should have been thrown away. I often went to church with my best friend Jill and her family. They went every Sunday. My family did not. But occasionally, my sister Rosebud would go to church and take her baby. Rosebud had given birth to a little girl she named Chanel. Rosebud and the baby were living with us while her husband was in service, stationed in Japan. Chanel was such a sweet, happy baby. I loved her dearly. Rosebud liked to show her off and took her to church that Sunday. I decided to go with them. Jill's family attended the Nazarene church across town. My family attended Little Hope Methodist Church in Quicksand. Chanel had just turned 1 year old. Adorable in a pink ruffled sunsuit, she behaved beautifully. She didn't whimper one time during the sermon. I insisted on holding her during most of it. Unless you were sitting in the first few pews, it was hard to understand Preacher Gamble. He mumbled. Rosebud and I sat near the back so we could make a quick getaway if Chanel started crying. After the sermon, we stood up to file out of the church, and when I happened to glance down, I saw I was still wearing the red, worn-out loafers I'd shuffled around the house in that morning. I'd forgotten to change to my good shoes. My cheeks began to burn. No doubt, my face was as red as the shoes on my feet. When I walked out of church, everyone would see them. The Methodists always dressed up to attend church. The women all wore hats and gossiped about those who didn't. I could only imagine the awful things they would say about me when they saw my run-down, beat-up loafers. Oh, my Lord! Look at those trashy old shoes that Nikki Bradshaw's got on her feet. What, that girl ought to be ashamed, coming to church with, oh, my Lord. Mama rarely went to church because she said she had nothing fine enough to wear. I gently handed Chanel to Rosebud and whispered, "My feet." Rosebud took Chanel, then glanced down and began to laugh. I wanted to hit her. Rosebud was a fashion plate. Of course she would laugh. She would never be caught wearing old run-down shoes. I stayed close to Rosebud, hoping no one would notice me. My big sister was beautiful. She'd once been a runner-up in a beauty contest. I didn't look to the left or right as we filed out of the church, but I did force a smile when Preacher Gamble shook my hand. I had committed no sin that I was aware of, but like Adam and Eve, I felt naked and wanted to hide. God would forgive me for wearing these obscenities to his house because it was an innocent mistake. But I wasn't so sure that I could ever forgive myself.